NBC is reporting that the White House is considering negotiating directly with Hamas to free 5 American hostages in Gaza if the ongoing ceasefire talks with Israel do not succeed. Meanwhile, the Israeli general in charge of the Gaza Strip area has resigned over his role in the failures that led to the October 7th massacre. Meanwhile, the IDF is continuing its operations throughout the Gaza Strip, eliminating Hamas terrorists and terror tunnels. All the details are in the following report.
Intense fighting continued throughout the Gaza Strip today on day 248 of the war. The IDF announced that its forces struck Hamas terror infrastructure in the central Gaza Strip, including underground infrastructures, and targeted numerous Hamas terrorists. The army said it is continuing to uncover and destroy shafts leading to Hamas terror tunnels. Female fighters from Unit 414 identified 2 armed men trying to enter an underground tunnel. Shortly after the identification, Air Force strikes eliminated the terrorists. Meanwhile, Hamas released more propaganda footage Sunday, showing terrorists targeting Israeli tanks and soldiers in Rafah. The footage, shot from the terrorists' point of view, shows Hamas firing rockets at Israeli forces. And on Sunday, the Israeli general in charge of the Gaza Strip area, Brigadier General Avi Rosenfeld, announced his resignation over his role in the failures that led to the October 7th massacre. In a letter penned to his superiors in the IDF, he said that he failed in his life's mission to protect the Gaza border communities. This marks the second high-profile resignation of an IDF officer to resign over October 7th. The first was the chief of military intelligence. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due back in the region today, visiting Egypt and then Israel, where he will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in an attempt to secure a hostage and ceasefire deal. And U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said in an interview with ABC News that the U.S. is continuing to urge Israel to operate differently to avoid the loss of life of Palestinian civilians in Gaza, though stressed the war is ongoing because of Hamas.
We are concerned about every loss of life, including in this operation. Anytime civilians are killed, we're concerned. Of course we are. That's why we want this war to end. The only way to get all of the hostages out and to end any more civilian casualties in Gaza is to get to a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage agreement. So the two are not distinct issues, they're connected issues. How do we end the death of civilians in Gaza, Martha? There is only one way, it is to get to a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage deal. That's what President Biden laid out. And that is, again, what he is reinforcing today, because Hamas accepting that deal would bring an end to the tragedy in Gaza.
As such, the United States resumed its humanitarian aid drops into northern Gaza. The U.S. military said a cargo plane on Sunday dropped more than 10 metric tons of rations. According to U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, to date, the U.S. has airdropped more than 1,050 metric tons of humanitarian assistance, in addition to the aid delivered via the man-made pier built by the U.S., which has now resumed operations after detaching from the coast.